Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here in Waverly, Ohio, and it is 7/12. Normally, folks have taken the last weekend off for the holiday if you're in the U.S., and hopefully you enjoyed the long week that you may or may not have had off. We call it What's in My Drawers because old club makers are the worst pack rats, and that's how we started this whole evolution, was talking about what was in the drawers of my shop, and then it just kind of expanded from there. And thank goodness it did, because we were able to meet and talk golf clubs with basically all the way around the planet. So well done to you guys, right? Well done to you guys. And as we do in every instance, we talk about what I have going on in the shop. Give some congratulations out to the winners of the last tournaments, of which I got to call up the app. Okay. And then we'll talk about golf things. And I did pick a golf topic. So number one, since I've got the app up, John Deere Classic. Congratulations to Lucas Glover, right? Who saw that one coming? Shot a -7 in the last round to just take over the top spot. And as we like to do at the very end, Ted Potter Jr. He ended up at +3 overall, shooting a +4 in the final round. Must have not have been his day. Now, we also had some more stuff going on with the Scottish Open. If you guys, it made the rounds. The video, apparently a spectator just decided that he wanted Rory McIlroy's head cover and whatever else he could get out of that bag more than Rory did, and then set up to hit it. I wasn't quite sure what that was all about, but it just appeared like the gentleman just wanted a little bit of attention, and he got all he could stand. But Minwoo Lee outlasted in a three-way draw between Thomas Detry and Matt Fitzpatrick. Very, we got Australia. I'm not sure where Thomas is from. And then we have England. So three-way. And then Ian Poulter and Ryan Palmer and Lucas Herbert right behind them. Let's see who came in at the end. Chris Wood from England. So, hey, not too bad at all. And we'll give one more shout out to the Senior Open this time around. Our boy Jim Furyk. Came around, shot a -7 with a +1 round, and when I looked up the score, he was at like +4, so he must have turned it on in the back nine. With Mike Weir and Retief Goosen coming in second at both at -4. So there was some really good golf being played out there, including the ladies. We don't want to leave them out. There was some really good golf being played out there. We saw some highlights, and they were turning and burning just like everybody else. So good for them. All right, so let's talk about what we were building today. One of it, this whole time off, all right, and I'm not going to show you pictures of every one of them, but this whole time off, including the holidays, Mrs. McGolf and I stayed in the shop just to catch up. All right, we are to the point now where we can concentrate on the modifications we want to do. And we cranked out about 2.5 sets a day, right? A day, in order to just basically catch up. And Mrs. McGolf had 6 or 7 boxes that needed to go out, and they were going all over the place, from Canada to South Carolina to Georgia, Michigan, I'm pretty sure, and Kentucky. So they're a little bit all over the map, and thanks to that. And so just a kind of a pieces part of it. And if you remember the young man I told you about, Chart, South African, we got his done. His was a set of Strixon ZX5s and with some Modus 120s in them and some Z grips. And nope, I don't have a picture of the Z grips. We boxed them up before we could take pictures of them. So they're ready, and he's coming to get them shortly. Another set of PXGs. The gentleman wanted pure grips, and we built up the bottom end of the grip with the whole layer. With the whole grip got a whole layer. The whole grip got a single layer, and the bottom part of the hand got a half layer to kind of flatten them out a little bit from the taper. And it looks pretty good, right? And then we put them in these. Those are KBS C-Taper Light X Flexes, and they're the special black shaft, as you can see. And they went into a set of those. Those are the new PXG 311T Generation 3. And that's one way of looking at them, and there's another way. I like this one. This one has the sugar daddies on them, which is kind of a neat look for a wedge. I don't know if I necessarily dig on the weight all the way onto the toe, but I do like if you were really wanting to be precise, that's kind of the way to go. But again, a little bit of a hollow body forge filled with some iguana spit, and it's pretty good. Another set that was, again, different for us. We started with the Golf Pride, and that's the gray and scarlet and black. Very popular here in Ohio, I wonder why. And we put some Fujikura Vista Pros in them. And those turned out to be really, really nice. And those were those guys, the ZX4s from Strixon. And nice, that's a big hollow body, forgiving, get the ball in the air and get it going pretty far kind of club. Not too bad at all. And not to be left out, so did some a set of 3 D9s. We're adding to sets, and we put in the Acra. That was a good little setup for them right there. And I think don't have a grip picture. They were some CP2s, so we go there. And then one for you guys. Here's you can put down in the comments what you think about this guy. The last of a dying breed iron. And why did I give you that one? Because it is a 1-iron. I've done a complete set for this gentleman, from the 2 all the way down into as far as it can go into the wedges. And we've been putting the KBS 105s in these guys. And he keeps finding them on the internet, and we keep rebuilding them for him. This is the 1-iron. Very respectable stuff. And as usual, I've been doing here as of late, showing you how bad I treat my dogs. And there they are right there, early morning. It's tough. Okay. So we've been extraordinarily busy. Now, to get a little bit more lively, so the stuff I was telling you about getting more modified, right? And we've been talking, I'm switching to a new connector, right? This guy right here. And it's a very clean looking connector, right? And you just pull it out, and there's the sleeve. It gets in there like that. And then you tighten that guy down, and that's it. It's nothing bulky anymore. There's no big black gizmo on the outside of it. It gives it more of an iron feel, and it's really, really nice. Now, I have done some switching, as you can see over this shoulder. Ones across the top there are almost done. I've been doing this in chunks. It's an elephant behind me, and I'm taking it bite by bite. And we did most of the steel, and now we're working into the graphite. And I've had that graphite behind me for some time. Acra doesn't change. They do change profiles every once in a while. They do have a rotation, and I'm getting in on the beginning of another one. But what I'm adding here is these guys. It's the ICW weight, iron constant weight. All right, constant weight shafts. And the constant weight shafts are 75, 95, 100, and 110, I think, 115 maybe. I'm still getting used to the stuff. Anyway, made for direct transference. If you have, say, something like this guy, which is certainly a taper tip, and you didn't want to have to ream anything out, then you can go with something like this. Okay. Now, inevitably, and I'm pretty certain this is true with these guys here with the Acra, is that the that the profiles will be just a tad different, and then the other 95, that's their regular I series. It's going to be a tad different, and we're going to find out because I'm going to do some testing. And then we're putting the pure grip to it, but this time I'm putting it so that's the top look. So I'm removing, as part of a fitting, I'm removing all indicators so that you line up the golf ball without any help. And then when we put the stuff on the way that, logos up or whatever, then you have that aided alignment so that you can get your aim that much better. So I think that's a good thing, right? I think that's a good thing that we're doing that. I do that in putting now. I just haven't done it up here. Now, what I have been doing is I have been turning it over. It occurred to me a couple of fittings ago to do that, and the funny part is nobody's noticed. So, which is a good thing. That means that they're using the face angle as their alignment instead of, some people will use grip, and that's where we're going. So I've got 14 shafts glued. I just need to cut them and grip them, and I've got another probably 9 or 10 to go, and it will replace all that stuff that you see back there. That's all the irons that are back there. Now, I really liked those shafts back there because they were simple in their design and their graphic. It had 60, 70, 80, and you knew exactly what you were walking into. Now, albeit it was very boring, but it was simple for me. So now I have to go back and I have to look at whether or not this is an I, right, an I-95, and then I'll have a highly technical Sharpie mark at a +1 to tell if it's over an inch. So that's what I've been doing, is I'll make a standard length club, and then I'll make a 1 inch over standard length club. And that's for the guys that are 1 inch to 1/2, they'll have to choke down, whereas the guys that are a little shorter will have to choke down a little bit. But you're only choking down about that much, right? So it's not gross, like, oh, I need to choke down an inch. Well, nobody likes doing that, and you're at the very bottom of the grip. So 1/2 we can all stand. It's the inch that gets out. So that's what I went with. Okay. So you saw that. We've got all the guys and golfers taken care of. Topic, all right, topic, and then we'll get moving on all this. I have been hit with a bunch of questions about what machinery to use, and I think it's going to become content on the YouTube channel, but I wanted to cover it here and asked. Okay, so I'm a big believer in buy it once, don't buy it again. Now, sometimes we all, and even me, we can't all do that. But so you have to be fairly choosy on what's most important for you and your shop. So and people go towards repairs, which means pulling shafts, prepping tips, right? Prepping tips, buffing things. There's a whole litany of things that you can do. Drilling out hosels, cutting shafts, and you have to really, really know what it is that you want to do, that you're going to be doing the most of in that. All right. If you're going to be pulling a lot of shafts, particularly graphite, and you don't want to ruin them, certainly a shaft puller. Now, the one I have that I thoroughly enjoy, and I'd love to have it be available, but it's not. The closest one is a reverse thrust puller from Golf Mechanics. It's available on the GolfWorks site, so you can get it directly through them. It's probably as close as you're going to get to being in ease of use. Okay. There are other ones out there, to be sure. Mitchell makes some. GolfWorks makes some of their own. Golf Mechanics has some. And it all depends on what you can afford. Because, they still have the washer and the crowbar that you can use, albeit dangerous, but you can graduate into something else. However, if you're going to be doing a lot of shaft pulls, time is time. No matter if you're getting paid for it or not, it's your time. Minimize it, right? Minimize it. 1x42 belt sanders. If you're doing a lot of shaft prep, or even if you're doing a little bit of grinding, you can get away with it. I wouldn't use it necessarily for that as a sole purpose, but you can get away with that. A shaft cutter, right? A motorized shaft cutter will save you time and effort like you've never seen. But that's all dirty work, right? Now, the number one tool that I will tell everybody if you're going to do this that you need is a clamp, right? Is a bench mounted clamp. And then you can put all your stuff in and mount all your stuff on it, whether you exchange it out or not. You can put a speed clamp to do gripping, much like we do. You can put a rubber clamp in there to hold the clamp to be even simpler to do gripping or cutting or pulling or whatever it is that you need to do with it. But there's so many things that you can put in a clamp. Even some of the Mitchell stuff has a little blade that sits in like that, so that you can put a shaft puller in it, so that you can save space. All right, so a clamp, you'd be surprised how just useful that is. Now, the other side is when you're doing all these repairs is you have measuring, right? You have measuring. Now, length, as far as I'm concerned, is probably one of the most important aspects of it. And I started with the ruler behind it, and that lasted a grand total of about a month. And then I got was AccuMade, but now they have an AccuRuler. Golf Mechanics has one just like. In fact, I believe it's the same one. Don't mess. It's an easy one to get. Then you have Flex. Then you have Loft and Lies, and you see how it can keep going. So you really need to take account of what it is that you're doing the most of, and get a tool for that job. And that way you will save time. And when you save time, particularly if you're getting paid for it, it will pay for itself in no time flat. All right. So let's get to some comments. Charles Horn. Ooh, I'm digging the picture, man. Digging the picture. Looks like an ox boat. New guy from Northwest Alabama. Great show. Learned a lot from the back. Going back through previous live streams. Have you ever fitted somebody with a single plane swing like Mo Norman? I most certainly have. Matter of fact, I did a dad and a daughter that went to that. It wasn't Mo himself that did the teaching, but the guy that was giving that instruction was called single plane swings, as a matter of fact. But yeah, there's a lot of that. It's not a problem. In fact, you would be surprised. The fitting process is very much the same for me. It's the selection of the shafts is where ideas change, because you find the right lie angles, the lengths, that whole 9 yards. And natural golf is really where it was taking a big deal. So, yep, I would go with that. Garrett, how are you, sir? I want to start by saying my brother and I have learned a lot from your videos about club making. Well, thank you, sir. My question reached character limit. See next comment. Okay. He just bought a King Cobra F7 driver head from a friend with a broken shaft right at the beginning of the head adapter. Okay. Oh, pardon me. Itchy. What would you recommend be the best and simplest way to get it out? All right, Garrett. Well, a couple of things. Heat makes things easier because it breaks loose the epoxy bond. Now, you don't need a truckload of heat. I started off with a propane torch, and you have to be extraordinarily careful because the flame it throws is very big, is very hot. Okay. If you have the inclination, go to the local Lowe's or Home Depot or whatever and go get you a butane torch. Burnzomatic is pretty much the most popular model, right? And the whole thing's probably, I don't know, that tall. And it's cooler, and the flame is about that long and way more precise. And if it's truly an F7, yeah, you should be able to pull it out. It should have an adapter, right? So what you could do is heat up the adapter, going back and forth, in about 30 seconds, 10 seconds in 3 different positions, and then put it back into the driver head, lock it down, and then take a drill to it. And start with a small drill and work your way up. Eventually what will happen is it will break loose and it will pop out. And that's what you want to do. In fact, if you go to the channel and you look, I've done that, right? We've done that about drilling out hosels or drilling out heads or something along that lines, and you should find it. So, and I show you what to do on that. Mike, Buffalo, let's see, what do we got? I've had 3 of my teeth. What? I've noticed that the ferrules and collars. Why would T200s be sliding on you? I know you're a strong golfer, but are you leaving them in your car? Don't leave them in your car. Even in the summer, even in Buffalo, it still gets hot in Buffalo, I'm sure. So Titleist likes to use collared ferrules. You can get the 370 and they'll slide on, they'll fit just fine. You'll just have to finish them. But I believe if you get the 3/8 collared ferrules, you should be fine. Now, be careful on the head starting to slip. The biggest key here is to grab your grip, and if it's in a line, if the head's in a line, and it just looks like the ferrule is and the ferrule's off, it could be that the ferrule is just slipping. But if it does look cockeyed, then yeah, you're probably there. So, but you're going to need collared ferrules. Titleist loves those things. Okay, absolutely loves them. Charles, how are you, sir? Hopefully your golfing's been going well. I was supposedly, was it Storm Elsa made its way up here over the weekend. In fact, we're still kind of feeling the effects of it off and on. And Sunday, we were supposed to, my traditional go out with my dad day, and it was forecasted from midnight to however long you wanted to go, 50 to 60 to 80% chance of rain. And so we just decided not to. And guess what time it did not rain? You're correct. But it came down, no more than when we got home, or would have gone home, it would have come down like gangbusters. Yeah, or it did come down like gangbusters, flooded everything for a while. So it's been on and off like that. All right, guys, so as long as we're going, we're going, again, if you would, like and subscribe on the video, like and subscribe the channel. That way we get, the more that likes that this gets, the more reach it goes, and then we get to see, guys get to see more stuff. If you guys are looking at supporting the channel a little bit, we still have the aprons. Send Mrs. McGolf a email. The aprons are in extra large and extra large, I guess is the way to put it. And she'll be able to help you out. And we also have the divot tools. And it would appear, I think the gray is the most popular color right now, but we have the green, the red, and the black. Okay, David, what do you say, buddy? Hopefully things are doing well. What would you recommend fitting for a beginner golfer? Any specific makeups rather than all 14 clubs? David, so if somebody was a beginning golfer, the first thing I would probably recommend is a lesson. All right, it seems weird coming from a fitter, I know, but the more that a beginning golfer is armed with, the better off that beginning golfer will be. Meaning that etiquette, right? I think etiquette's important. The basic grip, stance, swing, just something so that they're armed with going out there and having a little bit of fun, learning the game, learning the proper way of getting around a golf course, that kind of stuff. Now, as far as clubs go, you could recommend a split set. It just depends on the golfer. I'm sure you've met people that what I would say over here is you have people that when they get into something, a new hobby, they just jump right into the deep end of the pool and scoop up everything they possibly can. Then the other half of them are the people that are dipping their toes in the water. They will test the water out, and those are the ones that I would say would do well with we'll call them split sets or mini sets, however you want to call it. But like a driver hybrid, every other iron, starting at a 5 or a 6, and then at the 9, throw in a couple extra wedges and a putter, and do something like that. Very much like, matter of fact, if they're not out of super duper tall, or if they're not super duper short, and they're the average, and they're just looking to get into golf just to see, certainly the lesson. But we recommend what's called golf, and I call it golf in a box, and it's those beginner sets, right? And Callaway, Ping, Wilson. I'm sure there's more out there, have them, and they're quality sets. They're probably designs from maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, but they're still quality sets. And there's maybe an 8 club set, and it comes with a bag. So you need to throw some tees and throw some balls on it, and away you're golfing. Now, if the person really, really likes it, then they don't have a lot of invested, and they come see you for a fitting, and then get really specced out and ready to go. Turns out they don't like it. Again, they still don't have very much invested. Can maybe get some of that money back in a yard sale or secondhand shop. Mr. Paul, hopefully you woke up from your daydream the last time. I'm still giggling about that one. Stitches out tomorrow. Nice. I want to hear how it goes, man. You better make sure you ask him you put in a draw in that swing. Stephen Lynn, what do you say, sir? Thanks for the new divot tools. Mrs. McGolf gets credit for that one. All right, was fitted for hot metal 921s and C tapers. After 7 weeks, Mizuno told me I am back ordered. You're back ordered. Really? And is it because of the shaft? Okay. I will say this, of all the, we carry Mizuno, we carry Strixon, we carry Wilson, we carry Callaway. And the company that is struggling mightily right now is Mizuno. And they're telling me, even a guy that gets heads, that I'm around 6 weeks out. So I don't know if that's shaft related or not, Stefan. So I wouldn't necessarily back out of it if you're fit to it, unless they tell you, hey, if you want some Project X, and they can have it and it'll move it up, then yeah, I consider that. Now, it depends. The C tapers come in multiple flexes. If you got a C taper in an X flex, then yeah, the 6.5. If you got a C taper in an S flex, not the X flex, but the S flex, then no, you're going to want a smaller number. But the hot metal 921s are very, very nice, but I wouldn't go to a 6.5 from a C taper, particularly if it was an R or an S. If it was an X, then I would consider it. Mr. Ronald, how are you, sir? You take us through the principles of grip fitting. Sure. Well, we use this guy. Take the head off so it's a little more manipulative. Okay, so grip fitting. Sometimes you'll see that there'll be a model of a hand, and you stick your hand on it and you measure, and what it's measuring is from here to here, right? And that distance will tell you, like they measure for a glove, and they'll say, oh, that's where you're at. Now, like golf, it all depends, right? It all depends. So if you're a person that holds the grip in their fingers, much like this, I'm just going to hold it much in their fingers versus much in their hand. You see how much I was able to wrap around that? Okay. So if you're a golfer that puts it in your fingers, no matter how big a hand you've got, you're probably going to get away with a smaller grip. If you put it deep in your hand, much like single planes would do, then something a little bit larger would be the way. But in any case, what you're looking for in the backhand is that these fingers, there's a small gap, or just between that and the pad. See, I can just stick my finger in. just a small gap to touching. You don't want to be digging, right? Now, that's where most people stop. Here, we do the second hand. Now, this is some yoga. Second hand. So what we're doing is we're looking for the thumb to touch in here. So you're looking for these fingers again to be touching the thumb. Again, a small gap to just touching, okay? Small gap to just touching. And putting this back together. And then what you can do is, because it all depends on where it is that you hold it, right? And then how you get to size both up. Now I will say, I'd say 90, if not more, percent of all our grips have been low taper. The bottom hand, it's been a thing here as of late, where the grips have, much like this one. See, it's big at the top, little at the bottom. That's a regular taper. Grips that have a lower taper have been far more selected, and I believe it's far more comfortable because the bottom hand isn't straining to hold on, and I think that's a big reason. And they were doing it on the tour for a long, long time, so why not make a grip out of it? And they have. The CPs, the MCC4s, the LTs from Win. I saw that Lampkin's got one. So they all have one. In fact, Pure just had one as well. I think it was a DTX in the back and this in the front, and I believe it was a low taper model. So very interesting indeed to see that one. There's my buddy Krister. Hopefully everything's going well. Did you get your 3-wood in place of your driver? All right. Forgot to go Navy, hoorah! For the past 30 years, always been fitted. 8 years ago, bought with Sean 919, very well. 560 micro wedges. 2 years ago, went from long irons to 775 hybrids. Well done, sir. 919, man. I tell you what, I still have some that I use for testing, and you'll be surprised how close they come for just being test platforms. And they've been used quite a bit, I will say. They still can keep up, right? They can keep up. And the 560s are very, very nice. And rumor has it that there's another new one's coming out, but I haven't seen it yet. Mr. Dave, how are you, sir? Yeah, we've got that here too, man. It's like jungle thick. You need a knife to get through anywhere. Willard, how are you, sir? Hopefully all things are going well. Here we go. Let's see how well under par. Played well today from the white tees, the back ones. Scored a plus 679 with 2 double bogeys because of water. I played the Alpha 3-wood. You don't like it? Ah! I will buy a Morse Golf 2-wood, I think. I've never heard of Morse Golf. That'd be interesting to find out about. Morse Golf, huh? All right. Now look at that. Man, you're the perfect straight man guy. Have you heard of Morse Golf? No. Made a 2-wood mini driver at 10.5, 43 shaft. Can be adjusted up to it. Well, that sounds pretty cool. A 2-wood, huh? I think we can get into some of that. Alrighty. Have you seen the new Taylormade small driver? I'm assuming it came from Phil Mickelson prototype 300cc head. I have not. Danny, I have not. And mostly when they do that, these smaller drivers, we call them thrivers. And what that was is thrivers were very small things you could hit off the deck, that kind of thing. It was really kind of neat. In fact, with Sean, I had one for a while. With Sean, had one, and it was very well received. Very, very well received. There's our boy Joe. What's going on? Where are we at today? Today we can talk grooves. I know there are different types of grooves in golf clubs. There are many rules governing them. That is for shoes. My question is, would an average golfer know the difference between the grooves in his clubs just by hitting the club, and what effect does the different grooves have on ball flight? Joe, woo, grooves. Okay, so let me get this. And let's see if I got a pen. Oh, I got a Sharpie. This is going to be good. Okay. So here we go. I'm gonna do this backwards, so this ought to be good. Joe, I'm gonna have to click you off, but we're gonna talk about grooves. Okay, grooves. Get this off here. So the groove. So we're gonna do grooves. Holy cow! I better do it this way. So we got grooves. You got a groove in a club. Okay. And I know this is bad, but so there are rules on the width of the groove, the depth of the groove, the space between the grooves, and the opening of the grooves. Now, you've heard of U grooves and M grooves and square grooves and all that stuff. That's all down here. So an M groove would look like that. I know it's a W, but it's an M. And then you would have U grooves that were at the bottom. Those are square grooves, all that kind of stuff. Now you're seeing grooves that have different openings at the top. And then you'll have grooves that have either a chamfer or rounded, just different kinds of stuff. Okay, those are the way that grooves are measured. And how you do it is you take a mold of it and then you measure it in the negative. Now the other part to that, let me get you something. Put this away. The other part, man, I didn't know where he was going to go here. All right. So the other part to this is the space in between the grooves. That has become a thing. All right. I'm trying. I'm getting the speeded up thing. So Joe, here we go. And we're talking about the grooves. We're going to be going like this. No. So anyway, would an average golfer understand what the groove is? No, probably not. Even probably a more experienced golfer probably wouldn't either. Now, what do these things do? When we do grooves, what are we talking about? Grooves' job is to remove impediments when you get through stuff like dew. These grooves remove moisture and junk in order for you to make clean contact with the ball. When you make clean contact with the ball is when you can impart the spin, because the ball stings here and goes straight up in the span of a blink of an eye. So think about that. All right. So the grooves can be many little bitty grooves or bigger, more spaced grooves. Right. It just depends on how you want to do it. The guys at Callaway have different grooves in different lofts in order to impart an equivalent spin, so you don't overspin something. Okay, that's a philosophy I can get behind. I really think it's a good idea. However, the thing that that very few people pick up on is since the groove rule change. Let me get back there again. Since the groove rule change. The whole idea of this groove rule change was to make it more competitive for guys hitting out of the junk and all that stuff. Well, since then, they've only gotten better. And why is that? Well, so on this face, what's the majority? The groove or the face? The groove or the space between the grooves? Which one's bigger? That's what you got to see there. And what they've been doing is they've been making the space between the grooves more coarse, okay, more coarse. In a lot of cases, you've seen like in the Vokies with the spin on it, or you see all the millings that go diagonally, or you see the zip lines that you see in Cleveland. Everybody's got their own way of getting more coarseness, and that is what imparts the spin. Your angle of attack on the ball and how you get in there is what imparts spin, not grooves. I know I'm really going against the grain on this one, but face coarseness and attack angles are what gives you spin and will also designate how it goes up and down. Whoo-wee, you got me on that one, buddy. Type R, what do you say, buddy? And I believe, if I'm not wrong, that the clubs are all done. Those were interesting. They were the tempos. They were interesting. So you had kind of it was a ping thing all the way around, wasn't it? So he sent me a set of clubs, some more lefty stuff to regrip, and they were ping alikes with the grips on them were very much like the second style.
We've already talked.
Yeah. Hey. There you go. There you go, Mike. -2. Way to go, buddy. Good job. All right. Apparently Bob's watching because there's Robin talking to him. Here we go. Gave the new grips a rip yesterday. Amazing how the ball goes straight when the grips are on. Isn't that something? Good job. What do we got here? Matt Revlock from the West Coast. What? Matt's on vacation in 112-degree temperature, shot a 76. What? Good job, dude. And man, I'm surprised you didn't melt. Right? Oh my God. I bet that was a glove changer too. All right. So how do I travel with my golf clubs? I pack my bag just like I would any other time, and then I have the Sun Mountain, the Pro Tour. That black bag. It was their very first edition. It has the legs that come out, and you can roll them around. That protector has taken me to Ireland, Scotland, Florida numerous times, California. It's been through every airport, and I'm sure every disgruntled luggage handler there ever was. And so far, knock on wood, that nothing's broke. It's very, very protective, very easy to tool around in there, and it's no bigger than any of the other ones. So that's how we do it. Camilio, how are you, sir? Friday after a round. Friday with a round after the first 9, so get 39. All right, good job. Nick Flores, how are you, buddy? What do you think of the recoil graphite shafts for irons? Would they suit the Taylormade CBG? All right, I was a tour spec dealer for UST, meaning I got what the tour got, and we did a ton of recoils. And today, I still think it's easily in the top 3 shafts for irons. Okay. Now that was when they first started. They were probably number 1 iron shaft, in my opinion, for graphite when they first started. As they progressed, I think they lost a little bit of themselves, or the other companies decided that they're going to figure out how come they were doing so good. And the last couple of years, maybe not so much. However, I will say, in the latest revision, the darts, those recoil darts, they've done something. And I don't know enough people over there to ask the right questions now. But the recoil dart, I like. I like the feel. I like the look. I like what it does. It snaps through the ball. It's a good club. And then for CBGs, yes. You know, even the 700 series, I would stay in the 700 series. I wouldn't get into the EX stuff or any of that other. But the 7 and the tour spec is the 800 series. You probably won't see it, and it costs a bit more. But it's very much more friendly, more customizing. And that's the reason why we had it. But yeah, I have no problems with them. All right, question for today from Camilio. What do we got? I'm trying a hybrid that I feel a little empty sound. I don't like the feedback from the impact. It is an M2 2000. Well, You don't like the feel, you don't like the sound, and you don't like the feedback. I'm guessing that's probably not the one for you. Uh, so the M2 shape isn't that bad. I like it's it's not real big, not real small, and set down the middle. I kind of like the look or the shape of it at address. Sometimes, Camilio, the what'll happen is in a hybrid, if you tend to favor fairway woods, chances are you're really not going to like a hybrid unless you get a pro model. And what I mean by pro model is most hybrids are upright like an iron, right? They're upright like an iron. And pro models tend to be a little flatter. So something like a Mizuno or a Callaway Pro or something that you might find that is a pro model of maybe even Taylormade has something like that, and it's a little lower in its lie angle. And then you probably make a little more solid contact. The sound will sound better, and you'll probably end up liking it. All right, Chris, what do you say, bud? Do you anyone who makes mid-sized grips that is? Oh, probably not. What you may have seen is they used to, I think it was Lamkin, made a wedge shaft or a wedge grip, and they did make it longer. There was two dots on it so that a guy could grip down and say, this was my wedge shot at this length, and this is my wedge shot at that length. But I don't know anybody that just makes longer grips, no. We are getting our swim fins out, Nick, but actually right now it's blue skies and just waiting for the next thunderstorm. All right, could you describe your fitting for one length clubs? What yardage gaps are you looking for? Would you recommend, not recommend for a one length golfer? All right, David. So went too far again. I go back. Ooh, got a lot of questions. No wonder she's telling me to go, 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 go. All right, David. So I give one length owners or give one length guys that are interested in one length, I give them a test. I've got a set of one length clubs out here, and I make a 6-iron and I make a 9-iron. They're exactly the same, right? Same length, same everything. And I let them hit it. Let them hit the 9-iron first, and then I let them hit the 6-iron second. Depending on the golfer, but on the average, you need to generate around 30 yards of gap. If you can't generate, because it goes 9, then it goes 8, 7, 6, right? And if you can't generate around 30 yards of gap, chances are you're not going to like a 1-iron or one length because it's in your head that you have to swing harder because the club got shallower. And that's the part you got to work out. Now, you can coach them along and do anything like that and see whether or not maybe it was that. Or because typically the physics of it is if you make the same swing and you put in a different club, it ought to go differently, right? We did that video on that. But it was kind of interesting because I found that the height didn't really change, but the distance did. That's kind of different. I wasn't really, thinking that was going to show up like that. So anyway, that's what I go with. Now, one length clubs are meant to be somewhere from as low as the 8-iron and as high as the 6, with the average being 7, obviously. What I'll do is I'll just still find the right length of club for them based on a 5. And then what you can do is you tailor it down. Ask them, hey, what's your favorite club? Oh, I like the 7-iron. Okay, let's do that. Or, hey, I can, or if they're really, really tall, you don't want to have them, bending down to a 7-iron all the time. You might consider a 6. So each guy is a little bit individually different in order how they would approach it. So what I do is I find the right length at 5, and then I bring it down into the 7, unless there's some sort of medical issue, like they can't bend over a lot, they're extremely tall, extremely short, something along that line. Dude, I am ready. I'm ready for this stuff to be done. I just want the humidity to stop. Hey, Sir Gods is back. The urethane foam that they put in the hollow bodies to alter sound and feel, can that be done to non-filled heads? Probably. I don't, honestly, I don't see why not. The uh, in the Hosel, they have what's called a Hosel plug, and it looks like a piece of silver. You wouldn't notice any different. You take a small drill and you can puncture that, pull it out, and then shove your entry into the foam into that, right? And that will change the sound for sure. It will also change the performance. Okay, it will also keep that in mind, depending on how, because it all depends on the density of this foam, the hardness of the foam, or the durometer of the foam, actually the weight of the foam. So all that is taken into account in a hollow body that gets it in there, right? And the ones that don't are probably made a little heavier, a little more stout. So you want to be, you want to be careful when you do that. What's up, bud? Sunny V. Oh, here we go. Good evening, Jim over here. Well, question. I've been fitted for Acura Tour Z RPG driver fairway. Wahoo! Okay. What Acura shaft would you recommend for my Callaway X-Forged 2-iron taper tip? Well, if you're using that RPG, dude, you're a brute. Well done. Honestly, in your UT X-Forged, I would look at, they make a 100. Now it depends if you're in that 60-gram RPG or the 70. There is there's well they have there's the ICWT in the 115 might be the way to go. There's another one that is the Tour. Let me see if I can get one real quick. Yeah. Okay, so in the new ones, it'll have this logoing on it, right? All the Acuras in it, but it'll have this reinforcement in it at the bottom. And these are I-Series Tours, all right? An I-Series Tour. And the I-Series Tour in the 100, specifically because if you like the RPG, if you, you're probably a really hard transition, a very hard in the late release, but something in that 100 to 110 range for sure, and something that's a little beefy at the bottom. So the ICWT in the 115 or that 100 in the Tour model, the I-Series Tour, because it's more reinforced. And it'll stay with you for sure. I'm here to tell you. All right. I mentioned taking away certain alignment aids and fittings with putting in particular. What are you doing to take away those aids? How are you doing it? So, David, on my putting, I have what I call a putting jig, and basically it is a putter that I can adjust length and lie on. And it basically has a big round grip on it, and it has a blade, and there's no alignment marks on it. And they set up, I have the golfers set up to it just like they think that they would be comfortable getting over the ball, the whole 9 yards, and then we see how they align. Now you can use, the blade is very straight and very narrow, and that could help you, but there are no alignment marks, no nothing. Well, thank you, sir. Yeah, I think the range should, the stuff that we just had last day or two, you should be getting onto. Charles, here we go. What are we looking at? USS Donald B. Beery. A frigate. Oh, okay. It's a frigate, as you say, a target. Well, yeah. Last fitting. Fubuki. Nice. The only Fubuki I knew came out from Mitsubishi. It was in a driver shaft. And they were extraordinarily nice. Fubukis as a whole were made for guys with whether you swing the club fast or slow, as long as it was rhythmic, the Fubuki worked very, very well. The guy that made it the most popular was Phil Mickelson. He hit the crap out of that club. John Cummings in on Facebook. Thank you, sir. Oh, let's see if I can say this right. Leicestershire in the UK. Nice. Good job. I have a set of MX-23s with Hank Haney branded grips. Ooh, I really like them, but can't find them anywhere. Any ideas where they are? I'm afraid no. I mean, Mr. Haney is still teaching. You might just contact him directly and see if he has some, because I'm sure he probably has some lying around. Right? I would go with it. I just call him directly. Yeah, that's bad. All right, Michael. Planning to put the same shaft in a 3-wood TM1 as my Taylormade Sim 2. Any recommendations for the difference in frequency changes or keeping on the same slope as the Sim 2? Because my Sim 2 is perfect. Well done. Okay, so as a whole, typically, when you go from a driver, and again, I'll give you, it depends. When you go from a driver to a 3-wood, typically the weight goes up about 10 grams, and that is because of the head weight change in order to balance it out. Now, in a lot of cases, driver shaft companies don't make 3-woods, and what they would do is they just tell you, oh yeah, just get the higher one and then trim it down, and that almost never works. And so you're probably better off actually getting the same shaft for that particular feel. But what I would do is I would trim it to the proper frequency. So if you know exactly what your Sim 2 is, then what you do is you're going to go to your 3-wood, which depending on the length, right, you're going to have your frequency on your Sim 2. Now you know what you're looking for. If you're using a chart, whatever length that it is that you want your club to be, and you go up onto the thing, it ought to tell you a number. But as a whole, if you're going from say 45 and a half and you're going down to 43 and a half or 43, it's about 4 cycles per half of an inch. I think 4 cycles per half of an inch. So you're talking about 16 to 20 cycles. But if you have your chart, it should be easy enough. You just find your chart with the flex, come down to the length, and then there you go. Alrighty. Charles is sending us an order. She's going to answer. Oh, she did that one. Here we go. Mike, head on the 3 slipping clubs do not look to be more open or closed than the other in the set, so hopefully it's just the ferrule slipping. I assumed it was the head. Oh, really? Well, again, I would look at making sure where you store them, Mike. Make sure that you're not causing them to slip, and go from there. But if the other ones is, then you know what ferrule. Captain Awesome. Hello from Georgia. Captain Awesome. There you go. At least it's not Captain Obvious. Good job. That's pretty cool. I like the logo there. Mr. Duke. Hello, you two from Pennsylvania. Not a problem, sir. Glad you like it. Matt Spawn? Had a fitting for a ZX7. They said standard line angle, get the cell built. I'm thinking I hit it thin heel side. What is the line angle issue? Is that a line angle issue? Oh, is that a line angle issue? Honestly, I would think there's one of 2 things going on, Matt. And number one, I would look is I would choke down a half of an inch, just 1/2 an inch, and see if that doesn't make it better, and go from there. Because particularly if they didn't fit you for the proper length, that's probably what it is. If not, and if you're just hitting it a little thin on the heel, then try and make it a little flatter and see if it doesn't turn out to be better. You can always flatten one or two, and if you don't like it, you can bring it back up without too much detriment to the iron. Can you adjust the heel? Can you adjust the toe and heel on a M6 iron? If you're asking me if I can adjust lie angle, you should be able to, yes, but only maybe 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees because it's a cast club. And if they're a multi-piece club, it might be even less because we don't want to pop them apart. Mr. Haberlin, how are you, sir? Hopefully you're doing well as well. Well as well. That's a good one. There's my buddy Bob. We're getting closer, man. Closer, closer, closer. Michael Ward, touching back on spin and coarseness of the face. To get more coarseness on the face, you require a slight sandblasting of the face to get more coarseness. You can. You certainly can. When I was finishing clubs like that, that's what I did. I used they have glass beads and they have the Black Beauty and that kind of thing. And I used Black Beauty, but at a lower pressure. And I used glass beads at a higher pressure because they broke easily. Now, you don't want to get too coarse because there's another rule on face coarseness. It's no more than if you get those little fingernail files where you can sand your fingernails down, those little sticks. It can't be any more coarse than that. And I think it comes out at like, I'm going to say, 100 grit sandpaper, maybe a little bit, like 120, something like that. All right. He's got 2 sets of recoils and likes them. All right. Jason is getting mad because I'm hitting my 3-wood RBZ further than his new driver as he gets used to it. Uh-oh. Come on now. That's because he's used to swinging something that was as long as New York and as flat here as Ohio. As soon as he gets used to being a little more upright, he'll be good to go. All right, Thomas. How are you, sir? Am I missing any brand that has disappeared from the market? I don't know about disappeared, but I will tell you one that intrigued me that I was kind of wondering why it went away, and I don't think it. And it was a group called Maxer, and they're out of Spain. They actually had some really neat designs. They just didn't. Apparently didn't have enough backing or enough fortitude to stay very long. But I thought they were pretty cool. Those are pretty good. Another one that we actually kind of missed was I don't know if they're around very much anymore. I heard they sold, and I liked the guy real well, and the shafts were really good. Was SK Fiber. Duke, I put it up. It's outside. I'll have to take a picture. We rearranged the plaque wall. Mrs. McGolf said it was okay if it was out here, but she wanted it out front. And as she says, I agree. Look at that crap. Well, maybe we'll take it down and bring it out here. All right. What'd you think of the 95's Triumph Storm? Yep, they are. I think they're pretty cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, to be sure. All righty. Stefan Lynn, if you were fitted for 1/2 inch longer irons, would wedges be in the same, and does line angle change? Yes, on both accounts, Stefan. I would still go with the wedges being a little bit longer, and I would suspect that they would go and become a little bit more flatter, but by a 1/2 degree. Sometimes it's just that it works out that the 1/2 inch and standard lies work out really good. Mr. Benflower, been playing a set of 10-year-old rocket blades. Want to get fitted, live in PA. Do you recommend a Club Champion or a Golf Tech? As Mrs. McGolf would say, neither, but it depends on where you're at in PA, Ben. There is a couple of guys. There's a local guy I think his last name starts with an L. Let's or Likes or something along that lines, and he does a very, very good job. But if you were going to do that just to get recommendations, I would actually go to a club champion. Was an O, a 0. Oh, no. And I agree with Charles. Look at that without even looking. Oh, Mr. Christopher Jolly. It's hot in SoCal. I see it, man. Hopefully they're not having those. They have wildfires again. Man, hopefully you guys get her taken care of. Look at that. Made it all the way to the bottom. Mrs. McGolf didn't come in here at 6:30 and give me one of those. 6 minutes over, and we got through basically everything. I'm thinking that's pretty good. We reached from coast to coast. We reached over into the UK. We reached into Sweden. Are you kidding me? This is excellent. So we did pretty good. Again, guys, the video is coming out. It was on the PXG build that I did, and it will be out on tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Again, please like and subscribe. If you're interested in any of the accessories that we have, please let Mrs. McGolf know. And we are in discussions with 2 hat companies now. We've been looking around, and it's either going to be looking like this or another company. So hopefully we get it worked out here in the very near future. And guys, as always, let's see your scores. Go low.